Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace Abhay Chanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्री वसुदि गौर भक्तवृंद की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, नवदीप धाम की, श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की, यमुना माई की, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bir Krishna Goswaminiti Namne Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyayate Sudita Shuddhi Nishtha Bem Tasya Vakya Nuvadane. Okay, good morning and Hare Krishna to everyone. Welcome to all our online viewers on MyPut TV and ISKCON Sydney YouTube and also ISKCON Facebook. This morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, and the title of this chapter is The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. And this morning we are going to be reading from text number 28. And so we've been reading about Kardama Muni for several weeks now, maybe more. And in every class, we have been learning about a lot of things. It's just volumes. The nature of Kardama Muni is such that he teaches us so many wonderful things. In every little slok, we end up learning something new and something we didn't know. And such is the potency of the bhakti, of the strength of devotion of Kardama Muni, that it speaks to us in volumes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And at every step, whenever we read a slok, well, I find, whenever I take a class, I find something brand new. And so today is something else which will benefit us, but which will also give us an idea of how a society should be, how we should fit in a society, the ideal. And you will also sort of understand, or maybe you already understand, the things that are missing, that is so seriously missing from our society. It's an interesting topic, and I'd like to also discuss a little bit the pastimes of the Lord in relation to this particular lesson that we get. So without further ado, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay. Tammayantam abhipretya Brahmavartat Prajapatim Gita Samstuti Vaditrei Pratiyudi pratiyudiyu praharshitaha tammayantam abhipetra pretya brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samshruti vaditrei pratiyudiyu praharsitaha tammayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samshruti vaditrei pratiyudiyu praharsitaha tammayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samstuti vaditre pratiyudihu praharsitaha tammayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samstuti vaditre pratiyudihu praharsitaha tammayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samstuti vaditre pratiyudiyu praharsita tammayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samstuti vaditre pratiyudihu praharsitaha tammayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samstuti vaditre pratiyudihu praharsitaha. Okay, the words and their meanings. Tam, him. Ayantam, who was arriving. Abhipretya, knowing of. Brahmavartat, from Brahmavarta. Praja, his subjects. Patim, their lord. Gita samstuti vaditre, with songs, praise, and instrumental music. Pratyudihu, came forward to greet. Praharsitaha, overjoyed. So we've got the translation and the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So translation of this verse means, overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarta to greet their returning Lord with songs, prayers, and musical instruments. So we can repeat, overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarta to greet their returning Lord with songs, prayers, and musical instruments. Okay, the purport. It is the custom of the citizens of a kingdom's capital to receive the king when he returns from a tour. There is a similar description when Krishna returned to Dwarka after the battle of Kurukshetra. At that time, he was received by all classes of citizens at the gate of the city. Formerly, capital cities were surrounded by walls, and there were different gates for regular entrance. Even in Delhi today, there are old gates, and some other old cities have such gates where citizens would gather to receive the king. Here also, the citizens of Barhismati, the capital of Brahmavarta, the kingdom of Swayambhuva, came nicely dressed to receive the emperor with decorations and musical instruments. Okay, so Mangal Charan. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalata Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapt Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Va Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, in a nutshell, so I'm going to tell you what the lesson of this is before we even discuss it. In a nutshell, this particular shlok is expressing the citizens' delight in seeing the return of the king. And so the lesson in this one that teaches us is how a king should be and how a citizen should be. So in Australia, when a prime minister returns, what do we do? We say, well, the previous one I know what, they don't even call him Scott Morrison, the previous one, they call him ScoMo. And the new one is what, elbow, right? Albanese is elbow. Such is the attitude of us citizens of this kingdom. And so when Scott Morrison was in Hawaii, and when he returned, he didn't really get the greeting like the one that's described in the purport. He was criticized. Australia is on fire, there's a bushfire, and you are having a holiday there, and you're not least bothered about your citizens, of your kingdom. Prime ministers are, like a king, sort of. So I'll try to read a little bit about the kings who are like the prime minister, like our prime minister in Lord Krishna's times, according to their standards. Like our standard is pretty low because we are in Kali Yuga. So our kings are pretty degraded. I shouldn't say that, but none of us are Brahmins here. So along those principles, I'll read a little bit and see what happens to those kings who are like our kings of our times. And then I'll read a little bit about the ideal king. How a king really should be, how a president should be, how our leader should be, and then how the response of our citizens should be. I mean, there sometimes I do keep up with the news, sometimes Channel 7 or Channel 9, and in there are statements by our prime ministers, our leaders, and then I read the comments. So I would recommend sometimes just to read the comments, not to get too swayed by it, but just to see the attitude of the citizens, how happy they are, how unhappy they are. So that actually points us to the direction. What is a king supposed to do? Well, a king's main business is to keep us citizens happy. And the citizens don't really include just the people, the animals, also all the living entities. And so the king doesn't get this kind of criticism that, this, that, your policy is nasty, this, that. So, that's really the ideal king. And so I'll give you 3 guesses, or maybe one. You'll get it right in one hit probably. Who is the ideal Maryadam Purushottam? Who's that? Who's the ideal king that ever was? Krishna is one, yes. What form? Yes. Lord Ramchandra. Lord Ramchandra was known as the ideal Purush, Maryada Purushottam. He was the best king ever. And that was in Treta Yuga. So I'd like to read about Ramchandra. Although in this purport, Lord Krishna has been described, because Lord Krishna is none other than Lord Ram. So the principle is the same. In Lord Krishna's times, all his citizens were happy. Everyone was dancing and laughing and singing and extremely happy, no complaints. In Lord Ramchandra's time, it was just the same, except that the sacrifices were quite a lot. He had to sacrifice his association with his own wife, Sita Devi, to to be the ideally principal king, like he put his kingdom and the people first, even before his own wife. So let me read a little bit about Lord Ramchandra, if I can find it. It is the Ramayana is epic, and it is something that is really wonderful, and I would suggest everyone to read it at some stage, or at least hear some, like Ramayana Katha. It is really enlightening and enlivening. And my guru, he knows the Ramayana, the Valmiki Ramayana, the different versions. So read the Valmiki Ramayana. And backwards, he knows that. So whenever he comes around, he says, any questions, I like to just ask any question from the Ramayana so that he can relate the Ramayana. It's just wonderful. So today, let's read about Lord Ram. How he ruled his kingdom, and it is exceptional. It says, Lord Ramchandra, whose lotus feet are worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, he had assumed the form of a human being. And his wife was kidnapped, we all know that. And then so he crossed the ocean with the monkeys and the Hanuman, and then he brought her home. So he rescued her from the forest of Ashoka and killed all the demons there. And then killed Ravan, obviously the one who kidnapped his wife. And then placed Ravan's brother Vibhishan as the king, and now he returned home. So let me just scroll through and find out where he makes his entry to Ayodhya. Ayodhya is a place where he is living. And wow, there's quite a lot. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam described there. So, okay. So how he was greeted and what the citizens felt and how they felt. When Lord Ramchandra returned to the capital Ayodhya, he was greeted on the road by princely order. He was showered, his body was showered with beautiful flowers. Fragrant flowers with great personalities like Lord Brahma and other demigods who glorified him. So the king has to be such that even the gods glorify. We don't have such kings in our times, unfortunately. So upon reaching Ayodhya, Lord Ramchandra heard that in his absence, so this is how his brother was waiting for him. You'll be shocked. His younger brother, because what had happened was his younger brother, Bharat's mother had sent Lord Ramchandra in exile to the forest so that her son would become king. So the crown was snatched she tried to snatch the crown from Ram and give it to her son, younger son. So it didn't happen that way. This is how the younger son behaved. In these days and times, if the crown is snatched from somebody and given to the other one, they'll say, great, I'm the king. This is what Kali Yuga is all about. But this is not what happened in Lord Ramchandra's times. He found that in his absence, his brother was eating barley cooked in the urine of a cow. And he was covering his body with bark of trees and was wearing matted locks of hair and lying on a mattress of kush. Kush is the kush grass. The most merciful Lord very much lamented this. He was really sorry to hear. Why Bharat did that? Because he wanted to be on the same platform of his brother, because his brother was wandering in the forest with matted locks of hair. He didn't even comb his hair. And Lord Ram was wearing, my guru describes, that he was wearing this bark of a tree. And if you can imagine the bark of a tree, it's probably like evened out a little bit, made thin, so you can cover your body, but it is very scratchy. It is very, very scratchy and itchy on the skin. So don't know how Lord Ram wore that, and he was bare feet. In that sense, because Bharat had taken his shoes, he said, "In your absence, I'll put your shoes on the throne, and they will rule." So I was thinking personally, why did he take Lord Ram's shoes? Because now he'll be bare feet, and he will be walking in the forest with thorns, and that's probably Lord Krishna also when he's running around in Vrindavan without shoes. The gopis are, their heart feels like the thorns, piercing their heart, not Lord Krishna's soul. That's how they feel. Why is Lord Krishna running around in Vrindavan without shoes? And Lord Krishna's response is, oh, well, the cows don't have any shoes, so I'm not going to have any shoes. So he runs around bare feet. And if you see Lord Krishna's feet, lotus feet, they are very tender looking feet. If you can imagine a baby's foot, the sole is pink and it's so full, you can squeeze the juice out of it. That's how Lord Krishna's charan looks like, if you've ever seen. I've had an opportunity to see in my dreams. So that's Lord Krishna and Lord Ram. And Lord Ram was very much hurt to see this. So when Lord Bharat understood that Lord Ramchandra was returning to the capital, he immediately took on his head the shoes and came out from his camp in Nandigram. Lord Bharat was accompanied by ministers, priests, and other respectable citizens. So they all came in an entourage to greet Lord Ramchandra. And they also had like professional musicians vibrating, pleasing musical sounds, and Brahmins, they were chanting Vedic hymns. So how do we greet our leaders? When they come in driveway, we have the mridanga, there's a music, someone singing, and someone singing the Vedic hymns, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we are maintaining, this is probably the only society I know that is maintaining such principles. Maybe not as opulent as the times of Lord Ramchandra or the times of Lord Krishna, but we are still doing it. So we should consider ourselves very lucky that we are still in that game, in that, Vedic practices. We are doing the right thing. These chariots, there were lots of horses and chariots, and they were decorated with flags, soldiers with golden armor, servants bearing betel nut, many well-known and beautiful. Oh, this is during the Lord Ram. I didn't read this. There were many beautiful prostitutes. So in those times, there were prostitutes too. Wow. And they all were Lord Ram's devotees. Many servants followed on foot, bearing an umbrella, whisks, different grades of precious jewels, and other paraphernalia, befitting a royal reception. Accompanied in this way, Lord Bharat, his heart softened in ecstasy, his eyes full of tears, approached Lord Ramchandra and fell at his lotus feet. So that is how the olden times in Treta Yuga, we greeted our king. The citizens of Ayodhya also offered their respectful obeisances unto the Lord. And this is how it describes what the citizens felt. The citizens of Ayodhya, upon seeing their king return after a long absence, offered him flower garlands, waved their upper cloths, and danced in great jubilation. So we read in this morning, we read the Shikshastakam. And we said to Krishna, what did we say to him? Every moment is like, in separation, is like 12 years or more. And it was described that every moment for the citizens in the absence of the king was like millions of years. That is because they were physically associated with Lord Ramchandra and Lord Krishna. In fact, Lord Ramchandra's father was in so much anxiety and depression in the separation of his son. He lost his life. He died. So such is the effect that a king, I'm reading this so that we get an idea of how the king should be or how a king should be. We don't have that in Kali Yuga. And that is all the more reason for us to pray to Krishna or Lord Ram. There are many Ram Bhaktas, by the way. And Gurudev says there is nothing wrong with Ram Bhaktas, actually. Those people who are worshipping Ram, because they are worshipping Krishna. That's their rasa. So we should pray to be present in a kingdom like this. Now, what happens is, in the absence of such a king, what happens is the citizens are unhappy. And it is described that when Lord Ramchandra was there or Lord Krishna was there in ruling the kingdom, and also kings like Swayambhuva Manu, there are other kings also like Parikshit Maharaj. Because of him, his mercy, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam today. So there are other kings also who ruled their kingdom so well, the citizens were so happy. In fact, the rivers, the lakes, the land, it was producing so many wonderful fruits and vegetables of their own accord. That is why it is the situation today that our kings are not as keeping the citizens happy, that our rivers and lakes are drying up, the weather is going crazy, and there is El Nino effect, and all kinds of stuff is happening. Even the elements are not happy. They're not providing for the people. People are suffering so badly because our kings, our rulers, our leaders are not so good. And that is another reason why we should pray to Lord Krishna to remove us. This is not the place that we should be. So what did they do to Lord Ram when he returned? Because he was in a very unclean, not unclean, but he had matted locks of hair. Lord Ram can never be unclean. But he was in a state of condition where he was from the forest. He was coming from the forest. So the family priest or the spiritual master. So who was Lord Ramchandra's family priest? Vashishta. Vashishta Muni was Lord Ramchandra's spiritual master, the family priest. He had Lord Ramchandra cleanly shaved. So Lord Ramchandra cleanly shaved his heads. And that's what Prabhupada did to each one of you, by the way. Shave off your hair and look clean. Shave up. Gurudev always says that, shave up. I've heard him say that to my god brothers and even some senior devotees. Shave up. It's clean. So, he was, Lord Ramchandra was cleanly shaved and he was freed from his matted locks of hair. Then with the cooperation of elderly members, he performed a bathing ceremony. So he was bathed, abhisheked, and then the water was from the four seas and with other substances. So once he was clean shaven and bathed, and then he was, ornamented. And the citizens, it says, they were being fully engaged in the occupational duties. Okay, so what makes the citizens happy is a king who observes varnashram. Now, varnashram means the four divisions, right? The Kshatriyas, the Brahmins, the Shudras, the Vaishyas, and they all do their prescribed duties. In other words, nobody is doing somebody else's job. And actually that principle applies to any institution, even the institution of our temple even. Like if someone is empowered, I should say empowered because it is a talent that is given by Lord Krishna. If someone is empowered to do a particular service, they're good at it, let them do it. Because that's what they're meant to do. It is not nice for somebody else to do the duties of somebody who's supposed to do it, somebody else who's supposed to do it. In other words, don't take the credit for somebody else's service. It's not nice. What it will do is it will create chaos. It will create chaos in any institution, any organization, any country. It is the Shudras who are leading certain countries today. And that's why everything is in chaos. Because somebody else is doing somebody else's job. They want somebody else's fame. They want somebody else's, very recently in a group, actually my guru is coming today, which is really nice. I shouldn't say it because I'm not sure whether he released the information or not. So we are eagerly awaiting. So we will greet him just like that, like we greet a king, which brings me to that point. Lord Sati Parvati, who is Lord Shiva's wife, she asked Lord Shiva, she asks him, what makes, or how do we actually offer our respects to the king, to the Supreme Personality. What is the highest? And Lord Shiva said, worshipping or giving respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest, but there is something that is even higher than that. There is something even higher. Now, what could be higher than offering respects to the Supreme Personality of God like that, Godhead like that? What could that be? Giving respect to who? Yes, correct. His pure devotees. In other words, our spiritual masters, they are representatives of the Lord, the bona fide ones. I'm talking about the bona fide ones, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's disciples who are giving us Diksha. That's even higher. Can you imagine? Higher than God. That's what Lord Shiva has said. Because they are so dear and pure servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that everything they say and everything they do is even, it's on this equal level to the Lord himself. They're bona fide. So that's what Lord Shiva said. So cross my fingers, hopefully I can darshan my Guru sometimes. It's the job and all these things. But the greeting and how we treat, and if the Guru comes, we have to greet him like that. With Vedic hymns, chanting Hare Krishna and Mridanga and, offer him a garland, flowers, and a seat, and some drink and, something to eat, like that. So, it says here, Lord Ramchandra became the king during Treta Yuga. And because of his good government, the age was like Satyug. Everyone was religious and completely happy. And this is being related to Parikshit Maharaj. I'm reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, of course. So it says, "O Maharaj Parikshit, the best of Bharat dynasty, during the reign of Lord Ramchandra, the forests, the rivers, the hills, the mountains, the states, the 7 islands, the 7 seas were all favorable in supplying the necessities of life for living beings." So I'm going to read to you now about what happens when kings are not doing what they're supposed to do. So what Krishna did, I will tell you in a nutshell, and I'll see if I can read it to give you a little bit of a better idea. This is the times of Lord Krishna. This is the times of Lord Krishna. What he did was, he tried to punish those kings who, not really punish, to deliver those kings, I'd say, deliver those kings who were not doing the right thing. In Kali Yuga, he's going to come as Kalki, right? He's going to destroy all the Shudras who are trying to be kings. The kings are meant to be Kshatriyas, protectors. Kshatriyas are protectors of the citizens. And the kings get the Brahmins, the intellectuals, to give them guidance. So right now, we don't have any Kshatriya kings, because we have kings who are ripping off money. I mean, I'm going to use Australia as an example. We live here, and I think it's a free country. So far, so good. I can say things, hopefully without getting into trouble. But there was this incident, right? Did you hear of the robo-debt? Anyone heard of the robo-debt? What happened was our welfare system, people are on the welfare. This is in the year 2017, 14, 15, 2015, 16, 17, something like that. Those people on Centrelink, they're getting payments, welfare, and they introduced a automated system to collect debt from those welfare holders who had been overpaid. In other words, anyone who's been paid extra money, paid back to the government. So they introduced this automated system. And it was a very evil system because it overcharged everyone, and all the poor people who were getting money, they were wrongfully charged with money to return, which they didn't owe to the government, by thousands of dollars. Did you know that one? This is what the government should not do to the citizens. So I read in the news. That is why I keep up to the date with the news, because we got to know what's happening around you. It's not that we get involved in day-to-day mundane life, no, but we need to know what's happening around us. So there was one student, or maybe young man, maybe in his early 20s, And he was told he owed 10,000 or more than that, $20,000. He was just a student, poor boy. He was told that you are overpaid by robo-debt. It's the automated system, which was wrong. It was totally incorrect. And he committed suicide. He died because he didn't know how to pay it back. And his mother is lamenting up till today. I mean, a life is lost because you can't find the government. You can't fight the government. When the debt collectors are knocking on your door, there's nothing you can do. You have to pay back. He had no way of paying back, so he committed suicide. And then now, the Australian government is going through all this fact check, like they're investigating this robo-debt collectors. And people are being given back $2, $3.50 as a refund, which is really an insult. But this is what shouldn't happen. It's happening. So the kings who do this, what Krishna did, there were many kings during Dwarka. They were doing these things to their citizens. They were puffed up with opulence, arrogance, and they considered themselves high and above. So he arranged Jarasan. There was an arrangement. Jarasan actually imprisoned all these kings, thousands of kings, and then they were put in jail, in the prison. And they were treated like ordinary prisoners. And the other kings, what happened to them? Because Krishna came to restore balance and restore culture and restore dharma, principles. So he arranged a Kurukshetra battle, and in that all the kings were highlighted. Those rulers, false rulers, finished. And those ones who didn't deserve that finish totally, he had them imprisoned in Jarasan's prison. So then Bhimsen, the 5 Pandavas, the hefty one, he came, the strong one, the one who's as strong as 10 elephants. He came, and who was Bhim the son of? Which demigod? Vayu. Yeah, he was the son of Vayu. Who else is the son of Vayu? Hanuman. So they're all pretty strong. They're all supermen in our language. So Bhimsen had killed Jarasan. Once Bhimsen killed Jarasan, then Lord Krishna rescued those kings. And Krishna rescued those kings. And then as soon as they saw Krishna, they completely changed. They became humble, and they offered praise to Krishna. And Lord Krishna said to Jarasan's son, now Jarasan's son's name was Sahadev. Although the 5 Pandavas, one of the Pandavas also was called Sahadev, but Jarasan's son was a good guy. So Krishna put him as the king and told Sahadev to offer them clean clothes and have them nice food, sumptuous foodstuffs, and gave them very nice clothing and ornaments and gold and jewels. And then those kings returned to their original, luster. And just by looking at Krishna, they gained their health again. But that's what Krishna's mercy was. So that's what happens to kings who don't rule properly. Krishna completely annihilates them or imprisons them and then brings them back on the right path. And the citizens, well, they are only happy with the just ruling, where there is religious principles, where there is varnashram. So I'm trying to conclude this particular, shlok. Citizens are only happy when there is varnashram, when there is religion, when everyone is protected, when animals are sheltered. In Parikshit Maharaj's and Lord Ramchandra's rule, none of the animals were ever hurt. Even though things like, prostitute was going on at that time, but even they were happy. It was very, very peaceful. So this is what we need, but we don't have it because Kali Yuga is not going to have it. So don't expect. You can expect stuff like robo-debt to happen to you, which is nasty. But if you really want to know how to practice this, being a good citizen or respecting your king, you obviously will worship Krishna, but then there is one other thing, one other way you can do. This is in conclusion. Respect and greet your guru like that, or pure devotees of Lord Krishna. And that's the etiquette. That's what we learn from this particular shlok. I would like to talk more. I had some other pastimes, but I cannot because of the time constraints. It's time to go. I will just take a quick comment or question if anybody has it. No? Okay. Thank you for listening. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Puran ki jai.